Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Unlimited by Arundhati. I'm your host, Arundhati, and this podcast is about consciousness, mindset, energy, basically becoming the version of you that you know deep down you're meant to be. My intention with this podcast is to have conversations, share information, speak on topics that shift your life and bring it to more alignment, more authenticity. We're going to do that by shifting your perspectives, your identity, your self beliefs, your energy, and talk about subconscious and everything in between. So, if this intrigues you, if you are looking for growth in every area of your life, if you are looking to develop yourself and your life, then stick around. This podcast is for you. Now, for the very first episode of this podcast, I was thinking about what do I start off with, and this topic kept coming back to me. It's something that I keep going back to in my life and with my clients. It is really powerful, and once it lands, you cannot unsee it. It's called the observer's effect. Now, the observer's effect is a quantum physics phenomenon. So basically, a bunch of scientists conducted an experiment on subatomic particles. And they noticed that these subatomic particles, like electrons, when observed, react differently than when they are not observed. So basically, just the act of observation alters the state of this particle. So let's bring that to our life. Okay, what does this mean and why is this important? Look at it this way. Okay, the way you observe your life, the way you look at yourself, the beliefs you have, the thoughts you have, the judgments you have, literally shape your life. Because these thoughts, beliefs, judgments are attracting everything in your life, are creating your results, are also letting you take certain actions over the others. And depending on how you observe yourself, your life, the results are going to be parallel to that. So, for example, if let's say in one area of your life, let's say at your work life, you look at yourself as not good enough, okay, then you show up as not good enough. The actions you would take would then again be not good enough. And thus the results are also the same. But once you shift your observation, you move from that judgment of I'm not good enough to one with curiosity, one with hope. So let's say you start looking at yourself like, I'm open to learning, I want to know more, right? Then you start looking at work from that lens. And what happens is your actions start to shift. So instead of thinking about, I'm not gonna do that, I'm not gonna apply for that job because I know I'm not good enough, you might shift to, hey, you know what? Let me try. Let me try applying for this. I have this experience. Let's see what happens. And you put in that application, right? And maybe your results would be something different. Of course, it's going to be different because your previous scenario, you didn't even apply, you didn't even put in that application, so you would never know. So you see, it's small shifts like that, but ultimately, which shift your whole life. So the observer's effect basically teaches us that the way we observe something changes its results or modifies its results. Okay, let me share a personal example with you. So, a couple of years ago, I would say 2 to 3 years ago, I had put on a lot of weight. And I saw myself slip into this old mentality, this old mindset of mine when I was a kid. You see, growing up, I was this chubby kid, and I slipped into that mindset of that chubby kid. I started thinking that it's so easy for me to put on weight. I started comforting myself with junk food. I started doing things which was not aligned with the person I was then. So I'm talking about person me 2 years ago, right? I slipped right back into the childhood me, the kid me. And I started behaving and thinking from that identity. And that led to my results as well. I started eating more junk. I was not able to be disciplined, and the results showed until I noticed it and I shifted what I was thinking. Right? I shifted my perspective. I shifted my lens. For me at that time, it was easier to shift with this idea of, I put on weight very fast, but I also shed weight very fast. It's very easy for me to, to get rid of some weight, and so I adapted to that mindset. And very soon, my actions shifted. I started seeing different approaches. I met with a nutritionist. I changed my diet. All of these things were accessible even before I shifted my mindset, but my mind never went that way. My thoughts never went in that direction, so my actions never went in that direction. My actions, instead of, in this case, instead of looking up for a nutritionist and thinking that, oh, let me hire one, went into, oh, I need to comfort myself. I feel so bad that I put on so much weight. I need to comfort myself. And for me, comforting back then was having junk food. So you see, it all stems to the lens that you are looking at life through. In this scenario, my body. And let's fast forward from there. So it shifted my actions, and thus it shifted my result. I shed all that weight away. Now let's bring this in on how you could use this in your life. Okay? The lens with which we look at life literally shifts and shapes your whole life. So what lens are you using? Look at an area of your life that you feel stuck at and ask yourself, what am I telling myself about me in this area of my life? Or what am I telling myself about this area of the life? Am I looking at it through judgment? Am I looking at it through limiting ways? Am I looking at it through old storylines? See, a lot of the things that we do in life is through past programming, something that we probably learned, some trauma that we went through, some fears that we picked up. And most of them aren't even ours. It's just something we picked up. Somebody told us that it's supposed to be this way, or this is how it happens. And we just picked that idea up. And now we are living our life with those ideas. But it's time to look at it and ask yourself, is this really true? Is this how I want to look at life? Is this how I want to look at this area in my life? So let that be your body, your career, your relationships. What is the lens that you're using to look at these areas? Are you looking at it with love? Are you looking at it with curiosity? Are you looking at it with opportunity? Or are you looking at it with judgment, with telling yourself that you aren't enough, that this is not good enough, this never works out? What is the story that you're feeding yourself? So it's time to look at that story, because how you observe your life is the result that you will get. Depending on your observation, your results will be a match to that. And that's just how it is. So, for you, moving on after this video is I would ask you to choose an area in your life where you feel stuck and ask yourself, what am I doing here? What lens am I using to look at this area of my life? What am I telling myself? And observe. That's the very first step, is to become aware of how are we even looking at life? What perspective are we seeing life through? And then choose a new perspective. Choose a new lens, because guess what? The power is within you. You get to choose. You get to choose how you look at life. You get to choose how you observe it. And the result of that is your life shifts the way you look at it. So if you start looking at yourself with love, with curiosity, if you start telling yourself, you know what, I am good at this, I can make this happen, I love myself, then life starts showing up in that manner. But if you keep looking at yourself with, I am not good enough, who am I to even think about those things? Then guess what? Life is going to reflect that as well. It's simple, but yet it needs a lot of awareness, and you're here. So start with that awareness, start with shifting that perspective, and see how your life shifts. Great. I hope that resonated with you. And if it clicked something for you, feel free to share this with a friend. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for being here with me, and see you next time. Bye.